folks, Poster, welcome back. Another Paul Massive video, and we finally got the Zinnia and Rayquaza grid out, right? And it's really good. It's people really gotta like stop saying it's bad, right? Because it's not, right? Like you're hitting almost 600k with a free to play unit, which is pretty amazing, right? So, anyways, let's go over these. So first of all, the big question over here is, should you go Outrage or Draco Meteor, right? Because you kind of have to go for like either one or the other because it's lucky skill, right? Here's the thing: if you don't want to spend anything in terms of lucky skill, right? If you don't want to spend a lucky cookie on Zinnia, then it's Outrage. If you want to spend a lucky cookie on Zinnia, you could go for either Outrage or Draco Meteor. So the first step in terms of, figuring out how you want to use your Rayquaza is figuring out which lucky skill you want to give it, right? Again, if you don't give it a lucky skill, it's Outrage. If you give it a lucky skill, you go for either Draco Meteor or Outrage. They do really similar damage numbers. Like, the difference isn't really that big. And honestly, I just say if you have more of the pink cookies, then go for maybe like there's multiple ways to choose this. Like, you could choose depending on which cookies you have more, right? If you have more pink cookies, you go for Outrage. If you have more blue cookies, you go for Draco Meteor, right? Because the lucky skill you want for Outrage is Crit Strike 2, and then the lucky skill you want for Draco Meteor is Dauntless, right? So your obviously your special attack doesn't get lowered when you use your Draco Meteor, which you can't really use if you're using CS2. You could run Outrage with Dauntless too, but like you don't get anything. You don't get anything for it. But yeah, it's usually either CS2 for Outrage or Dauntless, Crit Strike 2, Critical Strike 2 for Outrage, and then Dauntless for Draco Meteor. So in terms of, again, which one is better, I like them for both are pretty close in terms of damage. Like, even though you'd see, well, Draco Meteor much higher base power, Outrage lower base power, but first of all, you do have a attack plus 20 on the node that you could pick up, which obviously goes to Outrage. And then the other thing is that with Outrage, you get Crit Strike 2, so you get an extra 20% off of Crit Strike 2. So again, they're actually pretty close. So yeah, so after we've established that, let's get into the sync grids, right? So there's really just two builds that you go for, right? One is like Outrage, one is Draco Meteor, and I'd have to say I'm not a huge fan of Weather Sync up 5. I mean, you could do it, but like a lot of weather units, like a lot of the really good ones, right? Stuff like Sand Slash or Sand Slash, Meganium, right? Silver, they get their weather on sync, so most of the time you'd be syncing with them instead to get weather, right? Instead of syncing with Rayquaza, do some 50% extra on your sync move damage, which again you could do, but I'm just not a huge fan of doing that because like Rayquaza's sync damage isn't like bad or anything, but like usually there's other units that you'd probably try to prioritize in terms of syncing with instead, right? So there's that first. So anyways, in terms of some other stuff, right? So first let's talk about an Outrage grid. Personally, for an Outrage grid, you want to pick up Clear-Headed, right? And probably want to come up here, pick up the attack plus 20 along with the other Outrage nodes. So by now you've picked up every single Outrage node. You picked up Weather Surge 3, which gives you an extra 30%, so that adds up to an extra 60% damage boost under Weather, right? A Clear-Headed, so you don't get confused from Outrage, and then a more damage, all that stuff. And for the last 4 energy, you could pick up some speed over here if you want, or something like this, right? Some extra stats, speed, some defenses, HP, whatever. Or you could go something like this instead. You could drop one Outrage node and then pick up MP Refresh and Stellar Imagination. So that way you have a 30% chance every time you use Stellar Imagination to get another MP Refresh, which then makes it so that you don't have to bring another unit that buffs your attack or special attack. Although I'm not a huge fan of this. Like, just bring another support just to give you, like, it's +2. It's +2 attack. +2 attack is not very hard to find, right? And like you exchange that for like some defense debuffs, which like I personally just go for the bit more the extra Outrage over here. But again, you can pick up this if you want as well, right? So that's Outrage. In terms of Draco Meteor, you probably obviously want to pick up the Draco Meteor stuff, right? So extra accuracy for Draco Meteor, right? Some extra Draco Meteor damage. You come up, pick this accuracy if you want to, but I'd probably prioritize picking up Weather Surge first, right? So maybe like you could drop one of these. Either you could drop either a power up, and then pick up like some more stats instead, or you could drop the extra bit of accuracy. Then you get like a bit more room to pick up some more stuff, but it's not like a huge deal. I'd personally just pick up the accuracy, right? Instead, right? Just go over here, pick up the accuracy. If you're syncing, then you could just go from here, I guess. Get you an extra bit of sync. But again, if you do want to sync, you could still pick up sync up 5. I'm just, again, like I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of this, right? But you could definitely do that. You could do that with sync up 5, and I think the sync move is special as well, right? So I guess it makes a bit more sense running with Drake Meter in terms of whatever support you're running, right? You can do that, but again, most of the time you're just syncing with someone else, honestly, right? Whether it be Ice Steven, Meganium, Ho-Oh, or even something like Champion Iris maybe, or Syncs with Cynthia, if you could get those to work. I'm not sure if you can. Probably not, honestly. Or some other units that you're running. Or your support EXs, right? So yeah. Anyways, going over team comps again. There's 4 weathers that you can run it in, right? Personally, in my opinion, probably the best weather you can run them in is rain. It's probably like rain, then sun, then hail, then sand, right? Sand, I don't like running her in sand at all, honestly. But the other ones, they're pretty nice. So let's go over rain first. This is probably your best bet, right? Singsu Blastoise here to give you obviously crit, team crit, and the extra physical or special attack that you need. Also patches up your defenses a bit that you drop, which is nice, right? And then May obviously sets up rain. May does really, really, really great damage on the muddy water as well, obviously. And then you can use May to sync, because May's sync nuke is absolutely bonkers, right? You can also sync with Singsu Blue as well, especially if you have an EX, right? Get extra sync buff from that as well, also getting the mega stuff. But you probably want to sync with May first, just so you get Racing Rain 4 or something, right? What was it? Racing Rain 4, yeah. So you could sustain most of this comp. This is probably your best bet. I mean, if you don't have Blastoise, anything else that gives a crit, some attack or special attack, right? If you're running Outrage, then you want Hilbert. If you're running Draco Meteor, you want Sabrina, right? Pretty simple. Or Berg and Togepi if you have that for either one. If you don't have May, you could obviously run Winona Pelipper, or Tech Egg Blastoise, right? They also give you Rain. Obviously the overall damage output's gonna be much, much lower, unfortunately. But those could still work as well, right? Moving on to Sun. Sun, obviously, Lyra, the very, very great option over here. You could run Zinnia with Leon, right? Should have 0 gauge issues at all, right? Lyra also gives your whole team speed on top of that. Leon obviously does a lot of damage with Inferno and all that. Lyra maxes out your attack or special attack, so whether you're running Outrage or Draco Meteor, Lyra patches all that up. Light screen, obviously, I just all that stuff. Crit's the most important thing over here. Also, for this one, you could also run Lyra here as well. You don't want to sync with Lyra to get the sun up, though, obviously. But yeah, sync with Lyra to get the sun up. Get good damage Leon. You get good damage with Zinnia, obviously. It doesn't have to be Leon, just any solid fire type user that could maintain or sustain the gauges should be fine here. Also, Leon does give you the extra damage buff and damage reduction from his passive with Galar Flag Bearer, right? Even though it's just 1, it's still like 20% and 10%, 20%, right? Which is really, really good. Outside of Leon, you could run some other fire types or some grass types that could make use of Sun, right? Whether it be Singsu Red or I don't maybe not Hilda. Infernape, I guess, if you really don't have options. Torkoal, those are for, again, more free to play people who don't have too many options there. Or whatever. There's a lot of fire types. You just plug in whatever fire types or any units that use sun. If you don't have Lyra, obviously you could use Blaine. Although if you are using Blaine, you would have to use like another support to max out Zinnia's crit and attack slash special attack, right? Which is the slight issue there, right? You could also run Silver and Ho, obviously. With Silver and Ho, you would also need to run another support on the side to give, obviously, again, crit, attack, special attack. Also for Ho as well. Ho could also deal some really, really good damage. So Zinnia Ho to, legendary event Pokemon. Really, really nice duo there as well. So, yeah, anyways. Moving on, Ice Comp. Or not Ice Comp, Hail Comp. Obviously, Ice Demon's best bet here. You could bring in Berg. You could bring in Lyra. You could bring in Singsu Blue, right? Things that give crit, give attack, special attack. Oh, with all these Singsu Blue teams, obviously, you do need the MP Refresh on to the top, by the way, right? So you can max out her crit. But yeah, you want stuff like that. Again, really, really nice. You could also run Candace as well. In this place instead, obviously drastically lowers your overall firepower. Also with I think it was Tech Lapras as well, that could also give you hail. Sand Team, not a huge fan, unfortunately. I would recommend against it, honestly, just because Ace Roll can give crit. It's just not very reliable, right? It's only a 50% chance of giving you crit every time you use Sandstorm, and you're not going to be like spamming Sandstorm just to get crit buff for Zinnia, right? So you'd have to bring another support, so your overall like damage output is really, really low, right? Unfortunately, in comparison to any of the other ones, right? I mean, Zinnia still does really, really good damage on her own, but yeah, in terms of like some other like dragon comps, you could run something like you could run Lyra with Zinnia, like just for like Dragon Week stages, right? You can run Lyra with Zinnia, and you can run like Haxorus over here. That could be an option, right? If you're again just fighting Dragon Week stages, stuff like that. Again, dragons you could play around with, maybe Altaria if you want as well. So yeah, anyways, that's me with this one, I guess. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me guys think in the comments down below. Like this video, so my channel, so more Pokemon content. I'll see you guys in the next one.